again. This is Phyclops, and we listen to plants. And some of you might have heard about this thing that's called plant blindness. Plant blindness is the tendency of people to completely screen out plants from their environment when they have to describe their environment to another person. So they will most of the time describe in great detail the horizon, the sky, maybe the clouds, any larger objects like houses, buildings, cars, bridges, what have you, and distinctive features of the environment, but they will almost never say anything about plants. If there are animals in the picture, of course, those will be described in great detail, but never anything about plants. And so my personal theory about this is that it mostly has to do with the fact that plants looked at, with the normal every day-to-day gaze are so immobile, are so motionless, are so passive in their movements. They're moved by winds, by rain, and that's it. So because they don't move, we have great difficulty in attributing to them the status of sentient being, or some may even want to go as far as calling them intelligent beings. But that is a different issue. So basically, when throughout the life cycle of a plant do we become aware of them? And I thought, well, we become aware of them when they're small seedlings just emerging from the ground, for example. Then we become aware of them again when they reach sexual maturity, when they produce massive amounts of pollen, when they start to develop flowers, when from these they develop either seeds or fruit. And then again, the only other time when we become aware of a plant is when it dies. When you have these carcasses of 50, 70, 100-year-old trees still standing somewhere. Or when you have a houseplant wilting and you start worrying about it. But these three moments, so the emergence from seed, the sexual phase, sexual reproductive phase, or asexual, plus the death, are the only times when we more or less become interested in them. And that is because during those times it is when the plant displays the most growth activity. As a young seedling, it does nothing but grow. In the sexual and reproductive phases, the growth is for flowers and fruits and seeds. And then when it dies, is sort of, you could maybe call it negative growth, right? But aside from these three phases, we don't pay much attention because we think there's not much happening. And that is really a shame, because there's a lot happening in between these three very brief points in time of a plant, or let's say a tree. We know that plant cells produce electrical signals very similar to the electrical signals that our animal nerve cells produce. I'm saying similar but not identical. The fact that plants produce these signals has been known since the invention of electricity sometime in the, early 1800s. And since those early times, people have also been aware that plants react electrically with electrical signals to different environmental conditions. A very popular experiment, for example, that is revived every 5 to 10 years in the media is that of hooking up a measurement device to a houseplant and then cutting one leaf or a small branch off, and then measuring how the plant produces a single electrical impulse that travels through the entire plant body in response to that cutting. Now, this type of experiment is old, and in the present day we have arrived at a point where we have much more sophisticated measurement devices that are more sensitive, and also I would say more sophisticated idea of what to do with those measurements in order to interpret them, and in order to be able to say something about the plant's state of mind, if you will, or the way the plant feels, although that's maybe going a bit too far, but let's say we can tell something about the plant's state just from their electrical potentials. I want to also briefly mention that the scientific community has explored the question of whether plants are intelligent or not. And this is obviously, what is intelligence is obviously is a very complicated question, but for the purpose of this brief video, intelligence is something that intelligence is displayed if the entity can use associative learning. Associative learning is a technical term, and it has been shown that all animals, including mammals, insects, down to sometimes the unicellular protists, all animals are capable of associative learning. But that capability has not yet been proven for plants. Some say. Some other researchers say, and I find this really fascinating, Ms. Monica Gagliano has in 2016 done a fascinating experiment with bean plant seedlings that I've included the link to the experiment in the description of this video. You should have a look at it. And in this experiment, it appears as if bean plants are able to learn a specific thing. Let's call it a thing. And the experiment is properly done, but it wasn't received very well by the scientific community. It was criticized harshly, which didn't make Ms. Gagliano very happy. But I find this very astonishing, and I'm still asking myself why now in 2023 so few people have actually tried to replicate this or reproduce it in other ways. Thinking about other possible ways one could test for plant intelligence, because it is testable. Okay, let's conclude it here. I don't want to make this video too long. Normally I had planned to make a field recording and then mention all these things during my field visit of the conifer, and I have actually done that, but the audio of that recording is so bad because of the wind that I can't be heard throughout the entire video, so that's why I'm re-recording the audio here. Alright then, so let's conclude it here. Brief mention of plant intelligence, fascinating subject. Please go to the description of the video. There's a link there to the paper which appeared in, I don't know if it appeared in Nature or yeah, I think it did. And then if that interests you, go and have a read. Alright, thanks for listening, and bye bye.